And so you stayed at the lumberyard though for a while working there because you guys then worked on. And now this is a movie that Mark and I grew up loving, which is Escape from New York. And he gave me
Yes,
this book, which is all about the making of Escape from New York. And I was just looking at it today, and
yes. There's the famous photo.
mhm, there
Yep.
you are.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
there he is.
Working on the special effects, which
Yes,
the story I have heard, and so correct me if I'm wrong, but that it was actually James Cameron sort of pitched you guys as a team to work on the film on Escape from New York.
correct. That's correct.
Okay, and this is
And so,
another picture of you there as well,
yes.
blocking
Oh
light
yeah,
as you guys are
blocking
getting.
light. Yeah, we had to
Yeah,
do some. I had to flag a light and be able to move it. I had to like do a kind of weird thing with the flag.
as you
Yeah.
guys are getting a shot of New York, one of the background shots there
Yes.
of the bridge and everything, of the Brooklyn Bridge. So you guys all got, he basically guys wrapped you guys into doing that, and I think at that point that you guys were also moving into Galaxy of Terror, but you were also working on Escape from New York a little bit.
Well, it overlapped. Yes, it
Yeah,
overlapped.
because I had also heard a story of John Carpenter coming and doing a couple shots of maybe close-ups, like little insert close-ups, while you were also shooting Galaxy of Terror at the lumberyard.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I believe that's true.
But
Um,
you were in charge of the visual effects. You were the
I was just
supervisor, right?
I was just a yeah I was like a project foreman.
Okay,
That's really it because Comiskey had gone.
right.
Comiskey had left, and there was um, I can't say that there was a struggle over who was going to run the place. That's the wrong way to put it. But let's just say that there were factions in the group that would not stick together if certain parties became the person in charge.
Okay, okay,
You
okay.
know, so in order to keep the peace and to get the job done, apparently my name was floated before all these people and said, well, what if he coordinated it all? Would that be fine? And they all said, okay, we're fine with him. So then so I was approached by Marianne and said, we got another weird job for you. Would you like to stick around and head this up and help us get this picture done? So basically, yeah, I was just, a supervisor, but I didn't have a huge amount of creative input or anything. The storyboards were delivered to us by Joe Alves. That was already
Right.
designed and pre-approved and delivered. And
He was the
we had,
production designer and would be
yeah,
the production designer for Jaws too, right?
yes,
And would
yes,
eventually direct, I think, the third one, right?
yes,
Jaws
yes.
3D.
And so basically, that's it. I was just there to coordinate make sure everybody was doing their particular part for whatever shot had to be done. And again, this was part of the reason why the crew got the job was because Carpenter wanted to do this without opticals, without resorting to optical composites. So everything had to be original negative.
Okay.
And so that's why we got it, because Cameron had convinced Carpenter that this crew knew how to do that kind of work. Because
Okay.
that's what they were doing on Battle Beyond the Stars.
Right.
Even though ultimately we didn't do that.
Right. You were just saying you did do opticals.
Yes, we did a ton of opticals.
The original plan, though, was to not do the opticals.
Right, was not to
Right.
do them.
Right.
There's let me go back. I mean, just even with the wipes, there's a funny story with the wipes. Because I can't, it was like I figured out, how do we do this? I remember the very first time we ran a cut for Roger, and the mark goes by, and Roger goes, "What's that? Is it dissolve?" And I go, "No, that's a wipe." And he goes, "Oh, wipes are old fashioned." And I go, "No, Roger, Star Wars is filled with wipes." which
Right,
not filled
right.
with wipes, but it has wipes.
Yeah, but no, it has a lot of it. When you
Yeah.
were saying that earlier that it was like kind of an old technique, I was like, well, it's all over Star Wars, but
Right.
yeah.
Right. Now, every time I asked Roger earlier on in the project, Roger, have you seen Star Wars? Oh, yes, 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 yes. And then as we're going on, I realize that, well, the way he's responding, he clearly hasn't seen Star Wars because we're doing stuff because of Star Wars. And
Right.
he's like, well, why is that there? Why is that there? Why is that there? So finally, I sat down. We had a black and white dupe of Star Wars, that we had borrowed a print from Fox, ran it over to one of the duping houses, made a quick black and white dupe, and we kept that in the cutting room. And that was our reference. We would every now and then we would put up a reel and, well, how did they do it? And I would sit with the visual effects person and say, now look at that. How can we do something like that? So anyway, so I run reel 1 of Star Wars for Roger and the crawl, right? So the crawl comes up. And Roger's like, he grabs the screen of the moviola. He goes, my God, did they explain the whole movie right there? It's like, right, okay, Roger, you have not seen Star Wars.
Right.
All right, okay.
From the jump, he admits that he hasn't seen it.
He hasn't seen it. So, and I show him, there's a wipe, there's a wipe, there's a wipe, there's a wipe. Okay, all right, okay. So do your wipes. Okay, fine. So he climbed off, yeah.
But in one, just to scoot back to Escape from New York real quick, one thing you guys did do when it comes to not opticals is that you did do a lot of the effects and you actually physically built them, because I think there's been a lot made of the fact that there was, instead of when Snake Plissken is flying into New York and he's seeing on the screen a digital New York, it's actually not a digital New York, it's a model. And you have a picture on your IMDb page of you like behind the physical model, which is so cool.
Yes, and which was literally it's photographs cut out and glued on apple boxes and shoe boxes and shipping boxes. It's just Bob and Denny Skotak, they just took made an arrange of heights. We had all these photographs. We went to New York. We took a whole bunch of photographs of all kinds of buildings in New York, and then just printed them up, cut them out, glued them onto the side of these things, arranged it something to look, we had a reference photograph of downtown New York, looking towards the Battery, and they just arranged it all to mimic that, and that was it. And my favorite part of the shot was we have a POV shot moving across New York Harbor towards Manhattan. And I remember when we showed the shot to John Carpenter, and he just loved it. He just jumped and said, wow, that's great. How did you do the water? And I said, you don't want to know, John. No. How'd you do the water? And then Dean Cundy was the DP, and he was sitting there, and he says, oh, so you did a split screen, right? And he go, no, not quite. And and I really did not want to answer them, because I knew it's like a magician. You don't want to give away the gag.
Right.
And they just kept on me and kept on. He kept on me. And I said, well, let's look at the next shot. And he said, no. We're not doing anything until you tell us how you did the water. It's like, all right, fine. Okay. But the shot's a buy, correct? He said, oh, yeah. No, we bought the shot. He says, okay, good. All right. All we did was we took black paint, painted the floor of the space. As the paint got tacky, we took a dry paint roller, and rolled it over the tacky paint to break up the surface of that. Then we took a 10K light and put it in the back, up high, backlighting it, so you get this little reflection off the top. Put the camera on a big 2x4 on a wagon, and then just push it slowly across the floor. And as the camera is moving across the floor, the ripples in the paint surface make the light dance. So you think you're moving over rippled water.
Wow.
So this is something This is what Bob and Denny Skotek. They, I can't take credit for it. It was
Sure.
their baby.
Sure.
It was their baby, and I just thought it was wonderful. It was like a perfect magic trick.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I finished out, and then John Carpenter says, "Run it again." And we run the shot again. I said, "I'm waiting for. Okay, here we go. Rejected. And the shot's over, and he's like sitting there, really like that. And he says, "All right. I wish you hadn't told me how you did it, because now I can see it. But I said it's a buy, and okay, it's a buy. That's it. Okay, fine." But
I can say that I have, like Ryan, I think you can agree. We've watched that scene over 100 times.
I mean, yes. We spent a summer watching Escape from New York every other day.
Yeah.
And we would...
From a summer from school. Every other day we watched that movie.
We watched that movie.
Every
like at lunchtime, we would watch that movie every
other day.
Yeah.
And I have thought about that scene
because
knowing that, it's not really Manhattan and like how they get that. And I would have never put together that that's how it came to be. I've thought of many other ways it could have been done, but I'm also probably thinking about it from a more modern filmmaking computer perspective. But it is a beautiful shot.
It is. It looks amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, some of the shots too, I'm looking in the book, and I know Cameron started even on Battle Beyond the Stars. He was doing a lot of the front projection paintings and stuff. And I know that he was quite a good artist. A lot of people have always said this about, I don't know him. I don't know about this about him personally, but I know a lot of people have said he's quite the artist. And seeing just in this book, him doing the projection of when they drop the supplies down, and the whole back part of it outside of that green field is a matte painting.
Yes.
And I mean, I knew that it wasn't shot in New York. I mean, I knew all that, but I didn't understand that was a matte. I mean, I just didn't realize that was a matte painting shot. Yes. I just never thought that.
I remember we were getting ready to do that shot. It was about a week or so before we were doing the shot, and I knocked on the door to Jim's office. I opened the door, and Jim is sitting in the chair, and he has the Raymond Fielding book, The Technique of Special Effects. He's reading, and I'm going, "Glass shots, huh?" And he looked up at me with a kind of smile and said, "Yeah, okay,
yeah,
all right, good, okay, good."
Yeah, I mean, it's an old trick, but man, is it effective?
Yeah,
I mean,
and all the buildings. Those were photographs. We went to New York. We stood in the middle of of Central Park, and we sort of looked south to west, and we just took a whole series of 2x2 camera negative shots, and then got them printed, blew them up. He cut them out, sat on the glass, just arranged them on the glass, and then the trick was the light pole. So that we would have in the foreground, there is a lamppost, a New York style lamppost that comes up. And so that was to anchor the shot.
Yep.
And so we knew the people would be in the field. We shot it out at Sepulveda Dam.
Wow. I would have never guessed.
So we're on the other side. We're on the other side of Sepulveda Dam. The matte painting is mounted on the downslope from the top of Sepulveda Dam, where it slopes down to a field. So we're up there, and then Jim had a walkie-talkie tied into the lead pilot of the helicopters. And they kind of just did a quick rehearsal to figure out if you cut, there was a gap in the buildings, and that's where the helicopters have to come through. So you have to kind of arrange, and so it looks like they're coming out from behind the building and making a turn, and then flying out over the field.
Right.
And I think we did 2 takes. I'm trying to.
Wow.
I think we did 2 takes. And I remember we got the dailies and ran it for John Carpenter and the film editor and Dean Cundy, and they just jumped out of their chairs. They were just so excited because I remember the film editor said, so I've done shows with Doug Trumbull, and my God, a matte painting would take 4 months before we would even get even a test composite,
Mm-hmm.
and here it's done. Here you go, you guys, it's done.